edition of the Bible Delight in the Details. Today, I want to talk about something that I just heard on another program, a TV gospel show, something I had never been taught, and I just found it fascinating, and I wanted to bring this to your attention. It is a somewhat overlooked, possibly, verse from Isaiah chapter 49, verses 15 to 16. God is talking to his people, and he's comforting them that he will always remember them, that they are never overlooked. No matter what you may think you're going through at the moment, if you ever feel like God has abandoned you, God doesn't care, something like that, this verse should just wake you up to the fact that those feelings are just not true. They're not the right perception. They are not reality in God's world. He starts out in 49:15 by talking about that, a nursing mother is not going to forget her own child and is not going to fail to have compassion on that child. They're just too much in their attention. I mean, it's obvious. Your body itself is producing milk, right? So it's not like you're going to be able to forget about that newborn baby. But God says in verse 15, but even they may forget, but I will not forget you. And then in verse 16, this absolutely fascinating verse, I have inscribed. Some of your translations may say graven. Some of your translations may say engraved. I have inscribed or engraved you and your names on my palms. Now, that is a curious thing to a 21st century reader, but as it was explained on this gospel show that I saw just this morning, it would not have been an unusual thing at all to a Jew of that time, because apparently there was at that time a very well-known practice which went by the exact Hebrew word that is used in Isaiah 49 verse 16. It apparently is something like CHKAKA. You remember they don't have vowels, so we have to put the vowels into ancient Hebrew, but it's something like that, and it literally referred to a practice that very devout Jews would sometimes do. And here's what they would do: they would go to a woodworker. Yeah. Think carpenter. They'd go to a carpenter, and they would ask them to create a small block of wood that had engraved on it in relief a picture. Oftentimes it was a representation of the temple in Jerusalem. It could be an outline of like this or something representing the city of Jerusalem. It could be something else, but the most common was the temple or Jerusalem itself. And then they would take that block and they would push it down into charcoal. Then they would open their palms and press the charcoal wooden mold into their hands. Now, obviously, that left the imprint in charcoal of this picture. Then, apparently, they would tattoo it. It was described as taking needles and very gently pressing an outline where the charcoal lines were, and there would be some kind of an ink that would be applied, and then they would rinse their hand in wine, and that would set it. And so literally it was like tattooing the palms of your hands. Now, it's fascinating because we know that one of the things that Christ talked to a lot of the allegedly religious folk about was that they were putting so much emphasis on the temple, as if the temple, the building itself, was their call to glory and their salvation. And you remember when the disciples said, "Oh, look at the glories of the temple," Jesus said, "I'm telling you, there's coming a day soon when not one stone will be upon one another." And of course, we know that in 70 AD that indeed happened when Jerusalem and the temple were sacked by the Romans. And he said, "I am the temple. I am the temple. You tear down this temple," meaning his body, "and I will raise it up again in 3 days." It is absolutely fascinating. Why did these ancient Jews tattoo pictures representing their faith on their hands? It was so that it would be ever before them. And think about it. The greatest symbol of love that has ever been witnessed in the history of man is the scars of Christ on the palms of his hands, and of course also on his feet. But the hands will be the obvious things of the nail prints. And think about it. As this gospel preacher was saying this morning, in heaven there will be no scars except for the scars that Jesus has voluntarily decided to carry into eternity. Think of that. Your scars and my scars, be they mental, physical, metaphorically scars, they're all going to be gone in the hereafter. We will not carry them forever. Jesus didn't have to carry those scars either. Think about that. He's in a resurrected perfect body. But he voluntarily wanted to keep those scars. Why? So that he would have always before him, and then while we look upon him, before us, a representation of how deeply he loves us. It's that just blew my mind, frankly, and that he would want to carry that reminder of the depth of his love and the focus of that love, and that's us. That, my friends, is a glorious thing to think about on this day in mid-January. I'm J. Lenora Bressler. Visit me again on the next edition of The Bible, Delight in the Details. Have a great day.